This episode of The Inspiration Show is so incredibly special because today's inspiration is as sweet as a cherry and has the absolute voice of an angel. She's been a huge inspiration of mine for years, and like, I can't believe she's here. I'm so excited. The incredibly talented Gina Gagliano is joining me. She truly does it all from singing, dancing, choreographing, modeling, and acting with a stage presence that makes you cheer for her the moment she steps on stage. Gina is currently on the national tour of The Outsiders, serving as a super swing, understudying the roles of Cherry, Marcia, and Beverly, while also singing down in the booth. Thank you so much, Gina, for joining me. It's such an honor to get to look up to you and watch you shine. And I am just like so beyond excited that you're here. Like, I don't even have words.
Thank you so much for having me and what an intro you've prepared for me. I'm so flattered. I mean, like look
It's
at my face. I was like, ah, she talking about
it's
me?
all
So
you, girl. I love you. It's
I
all
love
you.
you. Oh my God. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having
Oh,
me.
oh, I love you so much. I'm just so happy that you're here. So you grew up as a competitive dancer.
Oh yeah.
So when did you first fall in love with dance? And what was it about dance that drew you in and made you gravitate towards it?
I was first put on the stage at around age 4, and my mom just put me in ballet class because she grew up doing ballet and everything. And the moment I stepped out there and being on stage and knowing that my parents and my family were in the audience and my dance teacher was like in the wings watching us, there was just no place I would rather be. Like, did I do any of the choreo that was given to me at age 4 in my ballet class? Like, probably not. I was probably doing something else out there. But being on that stage was just such a happy place for me. And I was like, wait, people like do this all the time. People do this for a living. Like, I need to be one of those people. And somehow, even when I was really young and like super not good at dance, whenever I tell people that, like they don't believe me because of the dancer that I've turned
Yeah,
into after my years and years of
yeah.
training and all of my hard work. But I started off like boot nasty dancer. But somehow in my heart and my soul that I brought out onto the stage, my mom saw a great amount of potential, and she was like, "Okay, you want this? We're gonna get it done." So the plan was if I was enrolled in competitive dance, it would give me a lot of time to be on stage. It would give me a team to compete with. It would give me an opportunity to have private lessons, to do solos and stuff like that. And I already had like a naturally pretty good and pretty loud singing voice. And Broadway was always the goal after seeing Mary Poppins at like age 4
Yes.
or something like that, realizing that those were kids down there. I'm like, wait a minute, we can be doing that. And we were like, okay, competitive dance is how we get the dance um, up to par with the rest of the stuff. I already had a pretty good instincts as an actor, pretty good instincts as a singer. And so, yeah, competitive dance is what really gave me the discipline and the skill sets to take this to the next level and to make it my career. So I owe it all to that, really.
I mean, there's nothing like dance, and there's nothing like, especially at a young age, like stepping out on that stage. And like, you can't really explain to someone, like, if you haven't lived it, but like, the stage is home. Like, it feels like home from the second you step out. And I mean,
Mhm.
you have like turned into the most insane dancer, like, truly one of the best dancers I've known and have gotten to witness their talent, like, insane.
Thank you
So
very,
good.
very much. I appreciate that.
So, you touched on it a little, but could you share what your dance journey was like growing up and how
Oh
that shaped you?
oh my goodness. I grew up in a very competitive studio that did a lot of competitions. We were an East Coast dance studio very close to New York City. So we were doing like NYCDA, we were doing Jump Nouveau, Break the Floor type of competitions and going out almost every weekend doing conventions and stuff like that. And even though I put my heart and soul into everything that I did and I worked really hard and I wanted it so bad because I started off as I said, boot nasty. I didn't get a lot of attention or recognition from a lot of my teachers growing up
Mhm.
who would rather work with some of the other students that I was with. And this was so confusing for me as a kid and so heartbreaking because I showed up on time every day. I would be sweating buckets even doing the littlest things. I just wanted it so bad. And it really took a long time for any teacher in my dance studio to give me the time of day until I was about 12, and I started competing as a soloist, and then I started to get neck and neck with a lot of the studio's favorites. And I thought then, I was like, oh my gosh, I've made it. My teachers are going to recognize me. I'm going to make friends within my studio who are going to respect me and the talents that I have brought to the table and my hard work that I give every single day. But that wasn't the case, to be honest. As soon as I started to succeed, I was encouraged to stop. I was given half-baked reasons as to why I shouldn't be doing it, or why the judges were wrong for the things that they scored me for. And as heartbreaking as it was, and as much as I would go to my mom and I would just be heartbroken about it, it really did give me a lot of motivation to keep pushing forward and to keep doing it for me. And I was like, well, if these people aren't going to appreciate everything that I'm doing, I'm going to appreciate it for myself. And I'm proud to say that out of my entire like age group for my team, I'm one of four that are still dancing and still working in the industry. And I am eternally like so proud of that, and I'm amongst like great talent in those four people. They do a lot of really amazing stuff in the industry, but I'm one of the few people that have left the studio to like that had dreams of being on Broadway, and now I'm on Broadway's biggest national tour of the year. So I when I say I truly owe everything to competitive dance, it's not the reason that most people think. It really just lit a fire under my ass that I was disliked by the people that were training me, by the people that I was training with. It gave me all the motivation in the world to do it for me. And
Yeah.
I'm very proud of all of that.
And pun intended, but also pun very much not intended. Like you stayed gold all the
Yeah,
way through.
yeah.
Like even when it was hard, like you said, like you're on the biggest Broadway national tour right now, and like you also danced at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, which is also like a huge deal. Like when did you do that? What was that experience like for you?
I was part of this pre-professional dance group in New York City. It's no longer it's no longer together anymore, but there were a couple choreographers that were interested in doing this opening number, and so they got a lot of different dance troupes. And one of the directors of the program that I was doing was like, "I've got 20 some odd kids that are the cream of the crop, ready to do it." And so we just went into the city one day. We learned everything with our little scarves. We got like 3 seconds of airtime, and it was awesome.
I mean, what an incredible experience. Like that's just amazing. And then after growing up with dance, how did theater enter your life? And when did you realize that theater was a passion of yours?
Theater has always kind of been around for me. I think that's how the journey with dance really came to be. My parents took me to see Mary Poppins on Broadway when I was very young, and it was, which is the season we're in right now. It's Equity Cares, Equity Fights AIDS.
Yes.
They were doing their little post-show announcement, showing off the red buckets, doing this, that, and the other thing. And oh my gosh, I'm sorry, my text messages are blown up. Um, they were doing the announcement, and they had the kids that were in the show like wave and say hi, and I'm like, oh my gosh, those are real people down there. Not only are those real people, those are real kids that are my age, just like however many feet in front of me from the back of the mezzanine where we were sitting. Those are real people. And I turned to my dad and I was like, hey, if those are people, what's stopping me from being down there on the stage? um, and so that really kicked us into gear. And thank goodness my parents saw some kind of talent in me. But I think more so than seeing the talent, I think they saw the heart that I had and my want to tell a story and everything. So we did all kinds of theater camps. I would always do my town's summer musical. I would always try to do musicals in school and plays and stuff. And I never really like got many leads in these summer productions because I was so young and they wanted to give it to the high schoolers and stuff like that. But the main feedback that we got from people in town was I just couldn't keep my eyes off of her. She just stole the show from way back in the back line, and it was just because I was having so much fun and bringing everything that I bring into a performance. And um, I love being on stage in any sense of the word, whether it's straight acting, straight singing, straight dancing. But when we are able to put all three together, that's where the magic in me really, really lies, and that's what I want to be doing. So
Yeah.
there you have it.
Yeah, I mean, I relate to that so much because I think when young children, I think I can speak for both of us, like when you find out that you can put dancing, singing, and acting together, you're like, that's my life. You're like, that's it, and that's what I want to do until the day that I die.
Yep, they call it a triple threat for a reason, and I think it's
Yeah.
the perfect way to describe it because
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just magic when it all comes
Yeah.
together.
Like I always say, my two like taglines that you will always catch me saying is theater is magic and getting bit by the theater bug was the greatest gift I have ever been given.
Oh, I love that.
Like,
That's so
oh,
true.
it's the
Absolutely.
greatest. So what really inspired you to become a performer and who's been an inspiration of yours throughout your incredible career?
Oh, wow. I mean, that's such a great question. I um I grew up watching a lot of just like YouTube. I mean, of course grew up watching like VHS tapes of like musicals, and I'd watch Annie 24/7,
Always,
and
always,
always
always comes back to Annie.
always comes back to Annie, always comes back to the 1985 version of Cats or whatever it is,
Yep.
playing on the
Yeah.
VHS, trying to do the Victoria Solo at age 4. Like it's
You
not
did
working
it.
out.
You did it though.
Um, but I also like grew up watching a lot of just like people on YouTube do all kinds of different things. That out of all of the social media platforms that have come to us in this century, I think YouTube is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And when I am in between school and dance, I would really just be laying on bed with my phone or my Kindle, and I would just be like watching different competitive soloists, watching different performers. And my mom always like came in and yelled at me. She was like, "You would be so much better at XYZ if you just got off the phone." But
Mhm.
what she didn't know at the time is I was doing all kinds of research for every sense of my performing. I'm like, what is this person doing that I think is successful? And how can I implement that into my own practice? And a lot of it was like competitive dancers learning tricks. It's videos of people doing monologues. Where are they pausing? Where are they yelling? Where are they really quiet? And then videos and music videos of people singing and people dancing and things like that. And that's always my biggest advice when people ask me how to be in dance class, especially like going to a musical theater program. A lot of people didn't grow up as dancers. They're learning dance for the very first time while getting their BFA. The biggest piece of advice that I have for them is just watching everything and anything. Even if like you watch something and you're like, oh, I don't think I like that very much, I don't think that's very good. Why don't you think it's very good? So I mean, there's so many inspirations that I could just rattle off the top, a lot of them being in the Outsiders universe itself, which is like really, really cool.
It's the
But
greatest universe in the whole entire world. What can we
I'd
say?
say, I mean, I'd say,
Like,
but I think that the easiest answer for all of that is just that you can find inspiration from really, really anywhere, even the people that don't really inspire you all that much. Because I mean, we watch things all the time and we see people put themselves out there, and we're not going to like it 100% of the time. But there's always something there that can be learned, and that was a lot of my youth, which just like trying to be a sponge and just trying to learn, and then seeing what I can implement in my own practice and what I can avoid down the line. So that's my
yeah.
big thing about that. Yeah.
I always bring it back to the toolbox analogy of like watching people that inspire you, or like you said, that you might not be so inspired by, and just like spending hours watching them work and realizing what they were doing and kind of taking bits and pieces of that and adding those as tools on your own tool belt that you already have. And I think that it was so cool that you were doing that at such a
Yeah,
young age, just like using YouTube to like better your own craft and really like hone in on it. I think that's so
absolutely.
inspiring too.
I still do it to this day, even subconsciously, like scrolling on Instagram Reels.
Yeah.
Even people just like doing a snippet of choreography. I'm like, ooh, that shape is really, really interesting. I'm gonna remember that for down the line and stuff like that. Yeah,
Exactly. It's amazing to see how you can use other people's crafts to really sharpen your own. And I think that's so special about theater that we all kind of learn from each other, and that's really
yeah.
awesome.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah. So you attended Rider University where
I
you
did.
obtained a BFA in musical theater.
Yeah.
So how has your experience in that program influenced your development as a performer and prepared you for a career in theater
Oh
ultimately?
my gosh, so much. I mean, like to be completely honest, it wasn't your typical BFA musical theater experience because I started in 2019 and we were sent home for spring semester because of COVID. And we did my whole sophomore year of college was online. And when we started in 2019, we had a class of about 35. We came back and it was a class of about 17, give or take, and that was just a complete shock, and like the numbers completely dwindled. And because of that, I will be completely honest and upfront, and we can talk about it all these years later. My school didn't really want to give us a senior showcase that is typical for senior showcases that you see in musical theater
Right.
programs nowadays. They didn't want to take us to New York. They just wanted all it to be digital, and we tried. We really did try. Or I mean, I can't speak for everyone else in my program, but I really did try to get some kind of aid from our school, but they kind of just weren't having it. And to be honest, the reason is because our numbers weren't there. More
Right.
classes post COVID, more classes were coming in with like 40 kids, 50 kids. Like they wanted to just put their focus on that, and they didn't leave us completely in the dust, of course not.
Yeah.
But it was a lot more of a, how do you say, like a self study for me in my
Mhm.
remaining years of college. It's like I am taking all of the things that they are giving me, and I took some really, really awesome classes like musical theater repertoire and then senior auditions class, where I really learned the tools for how to audition in the industry and how to kind of live in the industry in between jobs and how to get jobs and stuff like that. But the rest was really like me learning for myself and me finding my tools that I needed in the industry down the line. So I got everything that I needed to get from my musical theater program, and I have professors that will have my back for the rest of my life, and that I will treasure from the bottom of my heart. But at the same time, it was a lot of solo work that I had to do to get to where I wanted to go. And honestly, if I could go back, I wouldn't change a thing because since graduating, I've had the career that I've wanted. Even though, like, you think about it, it's just like, oh, there's not many jobs to speak about, but they're all jobs that I have been with for a long time and that have paid me well and that have been shows that I love to do. Like, as an artist, it hasn't been like, oh God, I'm just doing this for the paycheck. It's never been that. And I am eternally grateful. And so, because of those things, I know that I obtain the tools that I needed without the extra bells and whistles that people are getting from musical theater programs nowadays. So, eternally grateful for Rider University, but my experience is definitely not the same for a lot of other Rider kids that people could speak to. So,
Yeah, and I think that's something that we learn so much as like theater kids, if you will, is like everyone loves the BFA in musical theater and everyone goes to people that they look up to for advice. And having that advice is so special and sacred. But like you were saying, it's also you find with musical theater is that like some people that are working on Broadway and in tours and even just like regionally, they didn't get a BFA in musical theater. Like everyone has such a different experience in this industry, and I think that's what makes our industry so unique and so cool. But it's
yeah,
also so special to see, and like I always talk about this, is like when you go see a show, no matter where it is and what kind of level of professionalism it is, like there's always a curtain call and your actors will always bow. You
yeah,
never know the training that went into that bow. And that is something that just fascinates me so much. Is like you never know how they got to that stage and what that journey was because every single person who's pursued theater, no one has an identical journey.
no one. No
And
one can
it's
help you
such a
above
cool thing
that.
to see. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
And you've brought so many beloved stories to life in incredible regional theater productions. So, which regional theater productions have been the most memorable for you? And do you have a few standout moments that you could share?
My goodness gravy, of course. I mean, I in between doing the cruise ship and starting the Outsiders tour, I did Anastasia at Bucks County Playhouse, and that
So
is
cool.
where I met my BFF, Anna Bermudez. Um,
Yes.
yes,
Oh
who
my God.
was a vacation swing on Broadway at the time before joining us on the tour, and she was the one to tell me like when the tour was announcing auditions, she was like, "Oh my God, you make such a cute Soch girl." And I was like, "I have no idea what the flip you're talking about." I was like, "There's no stinking way." Hello, here we are. So I
Way.
I treasure that contract a lot because it we really were able to kindle a real friendship there that I'm eternally grateful for, because there you meet so many people on all of these contracts, but I really only have a handful of people that, I know are with me for life, and she's one of them. And I'm so eternally grateful for that. And now she's here on tour with us, and that is,
Oh,
that's the best thing
so
ever.
excited and
So
I'm so
that
happy.
is that is a highlight. I did an American in Paris at Surflight Theater before I finished college, and that was just another like artistic endeavor that I really really wanted to do, was just to be on point for like multiple hours a day. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I haven't put on the point shoes in a very long time, but I always think of that really, really fondly. Um, to just like be a ballerina for a little bit, even though that's the route that I didn't go towards. Like I was like, I get to play a ballerina, and that is really, really special and really, really beautiful, and that's gorgeous music. And yeah, those are two highlights for me. I could keep going about my regional theater experience, but like those two hold a very special place in my heart.
So good. And like you also had the opportunity to bring your talent to the seas on Royal Caribbean cruise ships, performing in Cats the musical, which like doesn't get more iconic than that, and One Sky. So what
Yeah.
was your overall experience like performing on cruise ships? And what did it teach you
My
about
gosh.
versatility and performing in unique environments? And I mean, it kind of foreshadowed like I'm sure lessons that you brought with you to tour.
Oh, absolutely. I learned very quickly into my cruise experience that the the lifestyle of a cruise ship performer was not for me. To be honest, I think about that contract very, very fondly. I mean, Victoria was a dream role for me, and to get to perform that role like consistently in Andrew Lloyd Webber approved production of Cats was everything I could have dreamed, because like the makeup was beautiful and the costumes were top tier. We had the like a version of the original set and everything. It was really everything that it needed to be and everything that I had dreamed of in terms of like being in Cats. And now that I've done it, I'm just like I'm good. Like I
Yeah.
don't think I need to do it again, because
Yeah.
that quality of life, there are people that I know that have done like more than 10 contracts. Some people more than
Oh.
20. They will just cruise until they can't cruise anymore. And I learned very, very quickly after my sign on that I just wasn't going to be one of those people.
Yeah.
Um, and I'll be honest, we cruised some great stops. We were sailing the Mediterranean, and we were going to Italy, and we were going to Spain, and like who doesn't love that? Um, but Cats is a lot on the body, and I had to rely a lot on my back. I had to rely a lot on my knees. And when you are in Cats, and cat acting, or cacting as we call it,
Yeah.
is so important. It is so important to take care of your body. And unfortunately, I couldn't do it to the best of my ability on the cruise ship. Um, I did not enjoy the food that was in the crew mess hall. I did not enjoy that the dancers and the singers were not given the same privileges. They have a very old school style in terms of like giving privileges to performers that is old school, because if you think about in the 80s and the 90s, um, the dancers were paid very, very small amounts, and the singers were given grand dressing rooms, and on the ship they were given single rooms with porthole windows and stuff like that. And while I'm in my jail cell with my buddy from the sports staff in our bunk beds,
Oh
and
no.
so it was just hard with a show like Cats. There are other shows in the fleet where I'm like, that works. Like Saturday Night Fever, the guy that plays the lead, he's in every scene, he sings every song, and he dances boots down. He can have the window, and I'm okay with that. But with Cats specifically, it was really hard to be such a featured character and then like not be able to go into guest area without my name tag. And there's a lot of like rules that they have for like treating the guests with, obviously the luxury that they deserve and the luxury that they're paying for on the cruise ship. But I didn't like, this is gonna sound mean and a little bit blunt. I don't mean it that way. I didn't learn to sing, act, and dance to be a corporate monkey. That is just like not
No,
my, not
totally,
that's not
as you
my type.
should. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so some people really, really enjoyed that, and I loved meeting guests and I loved interacting with them, but I knew my heart was not there. And it was hard to be doing the Jellicle Ball with like no breaks because everyone else's break is when she's getting lifted upside down. It was so hard to be out of breath and to have to pace myself to get through that 10-minute ballet.
Yeah.
Um, and then I turn upstage, and all of my friends that are considered featured singers um, are sitting on the set pretend like cat acting while I am just running a marathon. And then I go to the mess hall and they don't really have anything that I want to refuel my body with or anything that I can eat. So I knew that it was a temporary job. There were so many things that I was grateful for, but I knew that
Mhm.
this was not going to be a good choice for longevity for my career. Um, and isn't it great to know that? Isn't it great to experience, be able to
Totally.
experience those
To
things and
have
to
those
know,
experiences, yeah.
yeah, and be able to know that like, okay, this isn't for me. This is going to do wonders on my resume. I'm gonna have these memories forever. I'm gonna have these beautiful pictures of me as Victoria for the rest of my life. But if Royal Caribbean called me and was just like, "Hey, would you like to do another?" I think the answer is no. And
Yeah.
like thankfully now that the Outsiders tour has come into my life, that answer is a concrete no.
Yeah.
It's nice to like now on the other side of all that now be there as well. So
Yeah.
that was a kind of lengthy explanation for it, but like I have very strong opinions about like my cruise ship experience and I was happy to share all of that.
And thank you for sharing that and being
Yeah.
so open.
Oh
And
my
I
gosh, yeah.
mean, obviously, like throwing it back to when we were talking about cats earlier and playing Victoria earlier and you having dreams of that when you were 4, like getting to fulfill that, like I can't imagine
Oh
how full
yeah.
circle and like beautiful that was for you.
My heart would swell every night
Oh,
um, doing that solo. And
oh.
even though it hurt so bad on the bod, it was worth it every time. And you have to find special things to do when you're on a moving stage.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to make sure that you are locked in and ready for the ride. But
Oh.
it was my favorite thing ever.
I mean, you got to be ready to rumble, otherwise, like you can't rumble, you know?
Thank you, that part.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of rumbling, we're gonna get into outsider stuff, but I mean, I have to say this on camera because you and I were talking about this before we started filming. Fate could not be more fate today because
Oh my god, yeah.
yesterday, yeah, like, oh my God. Yesterday was Gina's first two-show day as the one and only Cherry Valance, and today marks the 2-year anniversary of The Outsiders on Broadway.
Let's talk about that. That's so crazy to
Let's
me.
talk about
Yeah,
fate. Like,
yeah.
oh my goodness. So let's do it. You are currently making your national tour debut in The
Yes.
Outsiders, and you do absolutely everything in this show, from
Yeah.
Cherry to Marcia to Beverly to Boot Singer.
Yeah.
You truly do it all. So before getting cast in the show, were you at all familiar with the story, and why did you
Oh
feel
my
the
God.
need to be part of telling this story?
Oh yeah. I read the book in seventh grade. It was required reading for my school.
Same. Same.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it should be required in schools everywhere. I really, really, really do.
Preach. Preach.
Um, the only thing that was missing from that lesson plan was that I didn't know that Essie Hinton was Susie Hinton, and I did not know that she was 16 when she wrote the book. And those, I would have loved to know both of those things
Yeah.
in seventh grade, but it came at a very good time in my life because seventh grade, I feel like, if things weren't already clicky in your school, that's when they started to get clicky. I mean, for me personally, that's when I really started to have issues with friends. And like, when you get to seventh grade and you start to become a teenager, you really are able to see the potential in everyone for how nasty a person can get. Like, of course, kids can be really nasty. Kids have no filter, but as you get older, if you let yourself, you can really become a force of evil. And I saw that start to happen around me. Obviously, nothing to the extent of the events in the book or the events in the movie or the events of the play. Like obviously nothing to that extent was happening in my town, thank God, but I really saw people change around me. And so reading this book really brought it all into perspective. And the message of stay gold and chosen family and brotherhood was all just things that I really, really needed to hear at the time. And even looking at a character like Cherry, I just remember reading the book in class and reading it on my own and then watching the movie in school and just being so confused by her, just like completely confused by her. And I'm like, yeah, she's a nice girl, but like all of these things happened because of her. She can't even look at Ponyboy at the end of the story. It's just like I remember just like wanting to bash my head against the desk being like, I just don't understand her. And now all these years later, getting to portray her has been like an otherworldly experience, because I remember being in open jar and still being like, oh my god, who is this girl and why is any of this happening? It's so crazy. But yeah, the book had a huge influence on my life at such a young age. And I always thought about it from time to time, like years later. And anytime anyone would ask me, what was your favorite book you read in school? The Outsiders. It was just a no-brainer all the time. And then I remember being on the cruise ship when The Outsiders performed at the Tony Awards. And I'm like, they're doing the Rumble. Like, they brought rain. They brought rain to the Tonys. I was like, this is crazy. And I remember watching it and be like, I was like, maybe,
Shout out Gino.
maybe I, no, shout out Gino. I was like, maybe, like, what if, could I be in this? Like, is there any room for someone like me to be a part of this story? And at the time, I genuinely didn't know. And now we're here, and I'm a genuine part of my cast's story. And oh, it's beautiful.
I mean,
It's
it's the most
like,
special thing. I mean, you and I had such similar experience with falling in love with it in seventh grade. Like, it was the first book I ever loved. And oh my gosh, I don't think I've ever told you, I didn't tell you this, you're gonna die. So, I went to an art school in
yeah.
grade seven, and The Outsiders was our entire grade seven year. So we did all of our learning through the arts, but obviously, like the learning that we did was we wrote an essay. I wrote an essay on Johnny Cade. I have the dates and I've showed all of the two bits this, and it is, I think it's the funniest thing. My essay, Gina, was entitled Hero or Hoodlum. I manifested hoods turn heroes. I manifested hoods turn heroes. And then
Ted, that's
on
amazing.
and then we're gonna do what our final project was for The Outsiders. We're doing it on an off day in Toronto. Like we have to. We did The Outsiders trial. So head of drama at our school, she casted us as like roles from the book, or we were lawyers and we were team defense, team prosecution, and like this was like it was like a top secret, like it was like a literal court case. Like we had team defense and team prosecution, and we wrote like a trial. We put Johnny on the stand. Our teacher was in like full judge, and we literally did the outsiders trial, and we had to argue if Johnny was guilty or not. And my job was I was on the defense, and I was like a doctor that like Johnny was my patient, and I had to talk about how like he has PTSD and like he had a really hard childhood, and like he had to kill Bob because if he didn't, like Ponyboy would have died. So like we're doing this like on an off day in Toronto. We have
Oh,
6 weeks in Toronto. Like we're doing the outsiders
so
trial. Like
crazy.
it was like this book was the first book I ever fell in love with. Like I remember watching the movie with my classmates after we finished reading the book and after we did the trial. Like that was our celebration, and it was literally just that chosen family on screen and behind the screen, the people that were watching it. And like that book changed my life. And then to know that it was coming to Broadway and becoming my favorite thing in the whole world, a musical, and like getting to see that and now getting to watch some of my favorite people step into the roles of these people that I fell in love with in these characters. Like Noah gave me the book when I was at the show the last time, and like we just had this moment where we just looked at each other and like we both just started sobbing, and I was like, Noah, don't do this to me. I was like, the people beside me are gonna think I'm like mentally ill. I was like, I was crying the entire show. Like I was like, Noah.
That is so
Oh,
sweet. That's the sweetest thing I've ever heard.
like it's the
Wow.
most special full circle experience that I've had with the outsiders now, getting to be the smallest part of it through like speaking with all of you and just getting to like be part of telling this story, and like especially for you like to bring it on tour and like watch young children fall in love with it and see like parents take their kids. Like the book was written in 1967 and it's still so timely and prominent and inspires so many people now, and like I'm just so happy that new people get to fall in love with it
I
with the
truly
tour.
think it's gonna be a story that can last forever. I
Always.
truly truly
Yeah.
think so. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And had you seen the show on Broadway before booking the tour?
No, I had not seen it. I purposely didn't see it. I
Mhm.
actually
Yeah,
like, to be fair, I've read the book several
of course.
times, and I
Yeah.
also read the book several times when preparing to do this tour.
Yeah.
But when I was in the midst of auditioning for it, didn't watch the movie, didn't read the book. I actually haven't watched the movie since sitting in my seventh grade classroom, which
Stop it.
I think it's like in its own self is a really special
Yeah.
thing that I kind of didn't want to
Wow.
break.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of on my own. I mean, I had called Anna and I like when given my cherry side specifically, I'm just like, okay, like tell me the vibe of what's going on, like the vibe of the blocking and the vibe of these lines and whatever. But other than that, I was just doing with what I had remembered from seventh grade, everything that I had held on to, and and um everything that my heart had in that moment of reading everything and then putting myself into the world when it came to the singing callbacks and all of the dance callbacks that I had to do, and especially like my cherry callback with like Danya Tamor right in front of me, like
Yeah.
and
Queen.
then the first time I actually saw the show was after I booked.
Mhm.
Anna was on for Ace, and she got me a standing room ticket, which was perfect
Stop.
because I had to be mobile. I was
Yeah.
like so in it, and
Yeah.
also just like so gagged at everything that me during the Rumble, I was pacing back there. The businessmen that were next to me that I got last minute standing room tickets are like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm gonna be in this. I'm gonna be in this." So I think that in itself has been a very special way of like getting myself in the world, is just to kind of ignore a little bit of the source material and see what came up in my heart. And then
Yeah.
after that the job was set in stone and I knew that I was going to be here, then I did my research, and then I did even more exploring with that. But
Mhm.
everything that I gave in all of those auditions were just straight from the heart.
Yeah.
So I think that in itself is a really cool way to do it.
Yeah, and I know like the full circle for you with Great Expectations and then going to the Jacobs like after your like callback, like that just like that is the most full circle of full circles for me. Like that is just like so beautiful.
That was a crazy day. Like I that singing callback, it was my second callback. No, it was technically my third. So
Mhm.
I okay, I'll talk about my audition experience a little bit, but
Yeah,
to talk
yeah,
about
yeah.
that day. I went to a steps masterclass with associate choreographer Kristen and Xavier from TRC, and
Yeah.
Anna was actually assisting that class. They always say in those little steps like little disclaimers at the bottom of these like audition classes that this is not a real audition. This is to get a chance to interact with the Broadway team. But like we walked in, we gave our headshots, we did two combos, we went four at a time. That was an audition. Like if you're
Oh,
asking me,
yeah.
that was an audition.
Yeah.
My second audition, we were invited back to Open Jar Studios. We did the Soch combo again, and then they were just like, "Great, thanks everyone, bye." We're like, "Okay, cool." And then I got called in to sing for Soch Booth Singerland, and we had to sing a song of our choosing, Justice for Tulsa and Friday at the Drive-In, and I sang Warwick Avenue by Duffy. And you know like when
Yeah.
you know like when
I
casting directors like see the dancers and they're like, wait, you also sing?
also sing. Oh
Work.
my God, I
So
love
I
you.
literally finished the song and Xavier's like, wow, that was great. And I was like, hey, thanks so much. And then we got into Friday at the Drive-In, and like I don't know, the general outsiders fan won't know this because they've only heard it with like a full orchestra and whatever. That
Yeah.
song is really weird if you don't have drums. That
Oh,
song
I cannot even
is
begin to
super,
imagine.
super strange. So here I am belting for the gods, and Andrea from Team Music was there, and she's like kind of nodding her head and tapping her foot, and I'm trying to like keep with her. It was not happening. Like my timing was just like so down the toilet that like I was just like, I lost it. Guys, I lost it. Guys, I lost it. And then we sang Justice for Tulsa, and like obviously the girls are in the rafters at the end of that song.
Yeah.
Search the sound high and low. And so I'm in there and I belted and I left it all out there, and I was like, well,
That's my
this
girl.
is it. And then after that, like every other the class and the audition prior, I
Mhm.
have been like I left feeling so confident. Not even like confident like, oh, I'm gonna get a call back, but confident being like, I just did that. I just did
Yeah.
that. I did not feel like I did that when I left that day. And then I was like, I have a little bit of time before my bus back to New Jersey. I am just gonna just stand outside the Jacobs and I'm gonna listen to this song. I'm gonna listen to Mr. Brody Grant sing Great Expectations. And I read every word that was on the outside of the Jacobs, from every name to every producer, every cast member, every writer. Like I just read all of their names and all of the small text that people typically ignore. Like even going through and seeing all of the portraits of the Broadway cast, being like Brent Comer, Brody Grant, Sky Lakota Lynch, like reading all of their names too. Most pulse pounding thing on Broadway, and I just like stood there and I just hoped and I prayed, and like I also knew in my heart that like what Ponyboy was singing was really relatable, that I do have great expectations, that there is some life that I can make for myself. And I just sat there and just like tried to believe it, and I think it really paid off. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I
Hey,
mean,
let
oh,
yourself dream. Let yourself dream outside of a Broadway theater. Things could happen.
things can happen. And I mean, you had great expectations and girl, you exceeded them. Like,
So,
damn. Oh, I know, like rolling around in the gravel is like the best. Like no, when Noah gave me the book, he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna mess with her." Took his entire hand, scooped it up, and just put gravel all over me. And I was like,
nice.
"I love you so
Nice.
much." And I was
Nice.
like, I just sat in the front row the entire show, and I'm like,
Splash zone.
it's the greatest experience
Yeah.
ever,
Yeah.
ever. Oh. And then what was the rehearsal process like for you and like the overall experience as you stepped into these roles and began shaping the tour production?
I always sound like a crazy person when I say this, but people ask like what my favorite part about tour is, and it was totally our rehearsals in Open Jar with Danya Tamor and the Coopermans and the rest of the team, because even though we really got into the nitty-gritty of the script and whatever, they really fostered our relationship as a cast with individually with every single person. There were so many mirroring exercises and acting games that we were playing. It felt like theater camp. And but
Yes.
at the same time we were able to delve into this really difficult material with these very difficult themes. And like I remember specifically the 2 or 3 day stint where we had finished the Rumble, we had gotten into Little Brother, we had done the dinner scene into Stay Gold, and like I just remember the energy of the room and how many tears that there were, and it was such a special and profound experience. It's so interesting to be in a show that can really like hurt you in that way.
Yeah.
um and that's been something that I've had to tackle even 5 or 6 months on the road and everything. But Danya Tamor's energy is just, it cannot be matched by anyone. Her aura is sparkly, and people look at me like I'm insane when I say that. Her
No,
aura
she's
is,
the greatest.
no, like I don't know if like not many people have gotten the privilege of to see um to see producer Angelina Jolie and director Danya Tamor in the same room.
Yeah.
Whoa, that is a
Wow.
lot of aura. That is a lot of aura, and it's shimmering. And it's shimmering and it's radiant. And
It's
to just,
gold, baby.
it's gold, baby. And just to be in the room with her every single day was just something I wouldn't trade for anything. And she had so much care for all of us. I really expected, typically when a Broadway show goes into a tour, they kind of hand off the rights and the responsibilities to a person, and they create the tour cast and make it the same as Broadway, and then we move on. I had no idea that the Broadway team that brought it from La Jolla to Broadway to the Tonys was going to be there with us. I knew that they cared about who had their hands on it, but I had no idea that they were going to foster and nurture us to do this show. And so every day I was just so honored to be part of it, and also very honored to like be a swing as well. So like
Mm.
when she's working one on one with the people that are in the onstage tracks, I just got to sit and listen. And also, like, you have the little moments where like she would pull Nolan aside and she would whisper something that like, you couldn't hear at all, and then you'd see him do it again, and you're just like, whoa, oh my god, magic just happened. Magic just happened. It happened with several people, and there were certain cast members that are able to like banter back and forth with her and ask a lot of questions, and she was so open and receiving to all of it. It was just a magical experience. And the walls were covered with pictures of Tulsa, pictures of teenagers, pictures of that depict hope, pictures that depict violence, and everything like that. And we also got to see like a screenplay book from pictures of La Jolla. We got like crazy pictures of Tilly in a costume that we'll never see for Ace ever again.
Oh yeah.
It was just, it was really otherworldly, and I wouldn't trade any of those days for anything. Like there was one day I commuted from Jersey because that's where I live, and so I wasn't living in New York at the time. I was commuting via bus to get to rehearsal every day. There was one day that my bus got into an accident, and
Oh my
we were
God.
at a standstill for like a long time, and I'm texting Edmund, our stage manager, like play by play updates. But I was fueled by madness that day. I was like, I have to make it in time for the mirror. I have to make it in time for the mirror exercise, or I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna lose it. I made it on
It's
time. It ended up being
everyone.
one of my favorites. But
Everyone has told me about the mirror exercise. Like everyone talks about it.
yeah.
Broadway tour, everybody.
And a lot of people, like, it is not their zhuzh. I have a journal entry in my journal. I have every single person I've partnered with for Mirror and the theme of the Mirror. Wait, let's read a couple. Wait,
Oh
this
my
is
God, because
really
I know Noah was talking about like walking home from your parents' funeral. I know he spoke about that.
Mhm.
The mirror exercising is always like
Oh my
something that
gosh.
like everyone will bring up when we
Yep.
interview.
Oh my gosh. So funny. Let's see. Oh my gosh. Here it is.
Oh
We've
God.
got like Innocence with Christian, Best Sleepover Ever with Emma, Distrust with Katie, Waking Up and Getting Ready with Justice, Animal Instinct with Travis, Getting Ready for a Date with Giuseppe, Eye Contact slash Can't Tell a Secret with John Michael, Eye Contact slash Inexplicably Happy with Dante, Getting Ready for the Drive-In with JM and Justice, Goodbye with Katie, Everything is Going to Be Okay with JD, Hyper Masculine with Jonathan, Divine Feminine with Nolan, Perfect Day with Tyler, and finally Sharing Your Truest Soul with Seth. It was
Wow.
so important to me to just like
Wow.
remember everyone that I had shared those experiences with. And I know for a fact that a lot of them probably didn't read into it and feel the same way that I felt, but it it really took my soul on a journey every single day. And I was just so in it. I was so in it. From the moment she was like, we're going to be doing a lot of like mirror acting exercises, I said, I'm in. Girl, I'm in.
Love it.
So,
And thank you for sharing that with me. That was
oh my God,
beautiful.
of course.
I love
Of
that. I'm gonna treasure
course.
that forever. Oh, I
Yeah,
love
me
that.
too.
And you touched on it a little bit, but could you share a bit about your journey with The Outsiders from your audition process to where you are now?
Oh my God, yeah. I did about 5 or 6 rounds of auditions, starting with the Steps on Broadway masterclass, really not expecting anything to really come from it. And then the next callback was a Soch dance callback, and I remember it's like a that combo was a bit like a mix up of opening Tulsa 67 and drive in and things like that. They just want to like see the skills and see you do the choreo and whatever. And I had finished the combo. They had said the greasers are over here in this corner. And at the end, I was just like on the ground, like right in front of Rick and Jeff Cooperman. And I look over to the greasers and I went, oh, someone saw me. Someone saw me, look. And the whole panel just starts giggling at me. And I was like, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And then I had my singing audition, which in the grand scheme of things, we're able to look back and be like, it was fine. It did not feel fine in the moment. And then I was called in for another dance day. And this is when we got partners involved. And I did like a couple of rounds of different like drive-in partnering with a couple of different male partners. And it was so strange because all of the partners that I was with ended up getting cut in the process, but they wouldn't be cutting me. And I'm like from an outside perspective, for someone who has been behind the table in auditions before, how are you able to split the partners like that? What are you seeing? Like what are you looking at that you're able to be like, okay, not you who you're partnering with, but you.
Ew,
And I was
yeah.
just like, I was always so perplexed by it. And I would see my partners like leave in between rounds. And I'm just like, wait, how am I still here and you're not? But we did like double cartwheel. We did a lot of different tricks and skills that are in the show. And then they invited greasers for the second half of the day. And they're like, we're going to do fight choreo. Now, all of the fight choreo in the show is partner based, as we've
Of course.
seen. but they're not gonna have anyone do any like fake punches with partners in the auditions because that's incredibly dangerous, especially with people that you don't know.
Yeah.
So they really just made this like fight choreo in which there was a lot of just like fake punching and ducking and like juking out and whatever. And I remember questioning physics so hard in my brain, being like,
Freeze.
I don't know if I'm doing this right, but I think if I throw all of my energy at the wall, I think they'll see something that they can use with me. I really thought again that, oh my god, I've lost the job in this moment. But I went with my group, and it was we were doing a two at a time split thing. I started in the front line, or not a two at a time, uh, two times doing it in a row
Yeah.
is what I meant to say. I started in the front line. Second time I was in the back line, and then Rick was like, "We're actually gonna film that group one more time. Can we switch lines again?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll go back to the front. I'll go back to the front. That's crazy." And then I left feeling really good, and I had done a lot of dancing that day, and I was so happy. And I went home, and like I did my whole commute back to Jersey. This is so TMI, but I'm going to say it. I had to use the bathroom really bad as soon as I got home. My butt didn't even touch the toilet, and I get
I
an
love
email. And I get an email saying that you have been called in for a cherry understudy call. And I went, "What?" I was like, "What are we talking about?" And like I was so taken aback because like out of all of the role listings for every single one of my callbacks, if they've said Bev and Marcia a couple times, but like no mention of anything cherry. I didn't even know that was even in the cards
on the
for me.
table.
I
Mm.
didn't even know that that was in the cards for me. And so there are past versions of me that would have seen this opportunity and probably crumbled under the pressure, but I knew very early on into getting that email that like it is not every day that you get called in for a principal role on a Broadway show, the biggest Broadway show on Broadway right now,
Yes.
for the biggest tour that's going out in a couple of months. Like it is not every freaking day. And then you will see who's in the room for your callback. It is not every day that you get to do a principal role audition in front of Danya freaking Tamor. Like it this was new territory for me. And so I just promised myself to just give it everything that I can and just have so much fun with it and just relish in the experience that these people wanted to consider me for a principal role in any sense of the word. And there are past versions of me that wouldn't believe it, and there are people from my past that said that would never happen, and here we are. And so I did a lot of journaling. I did a lot of like cherry first person going through the Ponyboy drive-in scene and all of her thoughts and inner monologue. Same with the dinner scene when she comes in to drop off Johnny's stuff. I had first person monologued the entire thing in my notebook, and when I had done that scene um, in front of the panel that day, my inner monologue was there, and it was locked in, and I was Cherry saying all of those things. And I received really great feedback from Danya, and she was laughing at all my jokes, and I could already tell she is also just so personable. She got out of her chair to like come up to me and give me a note in between goes of the scene, and I was just like, "Oh my god, you're standing right in front of me. This is good." I said, "Okay, I'll take the note." And
Completely normal reaction.
wait, like completely normal
Yeah.
reaction. And so I left that day not knowing what was in the cards for me, but I was just like so over the moon to even get the chance because that's not every day. It wasn't every day for me for a long time. It might not be every day for me years down the line, but it was real for me in that day, and I hold that very close to my chest. That was, oh my god, it was the best day ever.
I mean,
Other
like,
than like
what?
getting the role.
Yeah, and I mean, like, what a beautiful journey that is. And like that inner monologue, like that's so beautiful. That's gonna stick with me. And I mean, also like shout out your handy dandy notebook with like
Yep.
all of your tracks, all of the booth tracks. Like,
Yep.
oh, there she is. Like, shout out. I mean,
Shout
that
out.
is like everything. And then what was your reaction to getting the call? Like, where were you? What was
I
the
was at
vibe of that?
home. I was at home. I had just signed with my agent at the time. I had done most of the audition journey with no agent. I was trying to audition for agents at the same time. Just because as an actor, there's only so much that you can do to really get yourself out there, and there's a lot of like auditions that are missed because they are just sent to agent offices and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and I really wanted to get in that world. So I had just signed with my agents at Resolute Artists, and she called me, and I didn't even have her number saved in my phone yet. And I was like, New York. I was like, New York. So this must be important. And she tells me that I got it, and I literally fell to the ground. I was like, oh my God, this is so crazy. And she was like, it was so funny because I had submitted self tapes for the Chicago national tour like a couple days before her and I had this phone call. And that team said no. And she was about to call them and be like, really? Are you sure? Like, just call her in for an in person. Like, I swear she'll change her mind. She was about to do that when Xavier let her know that I had gotten the tour. And she's like, see, I knew I didn't have any worries about you. And I'm like, I like can't even speak because I was just so shocked. And that was a special day because I was at home alone when I got the call. My parents were out working, and so um, we were having a bad week, just the three of us. Like especially with each other, we were really button heads and we were fighting a lot. And my mom was like, she came home from work, and I had been like quietly sitting on this for several hours, and she is putting down her stuff, and she was like, we're going out to dinner tonight. If you're a pain in the ass tonight, I would suggest you don't be. I was like, it's okay, Mom, I'll be good, knowing in my heart that like she's gonna find out news that is gonna put all of our fighting to rest. And so
Oh.
we sit down for dinner and we get our glasses of wine, and we're about to cheers and everything. And she's talking about how she had an interact. My mom works in assisted living facilities and long term care, so she interacts with a lot of elderly people in her practice. And she was talking about this older gentleman that was encouraging her to choose happiness and things like that. And things can really get in the way a lot, but at the end of the day, you can either choose to relish in your sorrow or you can get off your butt and find something good. And so she was encouraging the three of us, herself, my father, and me, to choose the good. And she had finished saying that, and we were about to cheers. And I'm like, hold on, hold on, hold on. I have something that may encourage you to also keep choosing good today. And it's that I am going on tour with the Outsiders this September. And they absolutely lost it. I'll never forget the whole like dimly lit steakhouse that we were at, which is like, hey, she got a job. That's awesome. But like they just know everything that has gone into this for so many years of my life, not even the past however many months of auditioning for this show specifically, but that 8-year-old girl that said that she wanted this. Ah, I could literally cry. But
I know. Oh.
what a beautiful, beautiful way to tell the people that I love the most. And yeah, they're very, very proud of me.
Oh, that's just that's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what's your favorite part about portraying these roles and getting to tell this beloved story on tour?
I love getting to tell this story in so many ways. I feel like we all have a little bit of pony boy inside of us. I truly do. That dreamer and that yearner, and that kid that has been placed in, not so great circumstances, and to have a future has to do a lot for himself, and the idea of chosen family and stuff like that. But I think my favorite thing about portraying this story is that I said way back in rehearsals, especially when we first started to do a little bit of understudy work and they put me into a little bit of Cherry, my biggest note was, to channel that queen bee energy, which I've never had in life ever, I don't think. And I talked about how I think these Soch girls are in many ways unrelatable to me, and like where they stand in the story, and the circumstances in which they grew up. I just we are very, very different as people. And Danya said, well, isn't it thrilling to get to be someone that you're not for a little bit? And I said, absolutely. um, but in that, I've really had a very profound journey with how I see myself in congruence with the story and also separated from the story. And divine feminine energy is very important in this story, even though it's such a masculine force. It's the divine feminine energy that creates the conflict that is, Cherry talking to Ponyboy at the drive-in and all of the aftermath after that. It is the feminine energy that she brings into the home after everything that has happened that she kind of caused. And it's informed a lot in my life about female power and also masculine power that any person despite gender can have. And so it's been really interesting for me to grow as a person with this story because of all of those things. And I'm excited to see how it continues to change me because it already has. I had told a lot of people before I left in September when we first started in Buffalo that, like, I feel a big change in myself coming. I have no idea what it's going to mean or how it's going to manifest or what it's going to turn into, but I know that change for me is on the horizon. And I was really right in that. And I see myself differently because of this story. And like, that's not even just a thing that has grown over the past 6 months. That is something that can change minute to minute when I'm put into these tracks. And you never know how something's going to affect you. Sometimes having to stoop into that evil when you're playing Bev and you have the violence with Two Bit. Sometimes I leave the stage and I'm in tears and I have to go hug Jaden and be like, I'm sorry I did that to you. And then sometimes with Marcia, even the other day when I had been doing it for the two show day on Saturday and also Friday night, I in the moment was just like, I was Marcia in that moment. I'm like, okay, my friends lied to me about what just happened, about how our friend Bob died. My boyfriend is lying to me about how this all went down. I had no idea this fight was 5-on-2. And now I'm seeing violence for the very, very first time in my life. I had known before that my boyfriend and my friends are capable of getting nasty, but this is the first time that they have shown their true colors to me, and I'm succumbing to this peer pressure because what else am I supposed to do? And then Cherry does a whole different story on power and being powerless in some of these things. So it has really informed me a lot about myself, and I'm eternally grateful.
Yeah. I mean, it's so beautiful to see the way, especially with like being a swing, the way that it changes you and getting to view a story that you love
Yeah,
from different perspectives and how it changes that.
yeah.
And since The Outsiders marks your first national tour, how has tour life been treating you and what lessons have you picked up along the way?
Oh my God, it's been a crazy adjustment in every sense. You have to adapt to things that you don't normally think that you have to adapt to. I mean, we can't lie. It's really hard having our one day off most of the time, 9 times out of 10, be a travel day. And it's also been really interesting. Like, even though our relationships were so well fostered by our team, this bubble is all that we have out here. Like, we work together, we travel together, we play together, we like go out and do fun things, or we hang out in hotel rooms together. Like, we are really all that we have, which is an adjustment within itself. And like, I think we're handling it really, really, really great. But at the same time, it's just like, I went home for my personal days and I'm just like, I can't wait to not see any of you for the next like 3 to 5 days. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
And then I come back and I'm like, I missed you guys. I missed you guys so much.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
yeah, and it's also my first time being a full-time swing, so I took a lot of grievance with the fact that in the beginning that I wasn't able to solidify myself like a good pre-show routine for me, which has caused my pre-show routines for any of the roles that I play, especially since sometimes it can be so random.
yeah.
Um, when I do go on, that my pre-show routine is going to be different, but I also think that's part of the fun, and I've learned to adapt to that pretty well. But there was a long time where I was just like, how do I know that I have everything I need before I step out on stage if I'm not able to put it into practice consistently as some of my friends are?
Yeah.
But that has been part of the journey, and that has just been something that I've had to tackle along the way. And I am grateful for this weekend. I did a 5 show weekend for my first time since Buffalo,
Hell
and
yeah.
I learned about a lot of what I needed and how to sustain it. And
Yeah.
now, when Emma goes on vacation in a couple weeks, and Katie solidifies her vacations, and when Anna is done with this stint with us, and whenever that will be, I will know what I need in order to do it. So, yeah.
Yeah, and since you cover Cherry, Marcia, and Bev, how do you keep the characters distinct in your mind so you can switch between them so seamlessly. And like you were saying, like you just did what, 3 shows as Marcia, and then back to back you just did 2 as Cherry. And like how does that
Yeah.
also influence you as an actor with like, I just saw it from this perspective and now I'm seeing it from this perspective? Like does it inform you of the characters like in any way?
Totally. It totally does. It's been really difficult. Like I've talked to a lot of my other swings on the tour, especially those that cover greasers and socias.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys have the luxury of getting to flip into a different part of your brain and a different side of town in this
Mm,
story. I have to be in the same universe with all three of these with very minute, very distinct differences. And
mm,
so that has been something that I've just had to like keep refreshing in my own mind and just like keep practicing for myself. It helps that, with Bev, you can kind of take, forgive my French, the bitchier route with her,
yeah.
especially like succumbing to the violence and being on easily swayed by what the boys want in that time. With Marcia, you can kind of go a sweeter route with her. I really just try to get into the pocket of just being Cherry's best friend and looking out for Cherry more than anyone else. That has been really informative about how she sees the story, especially for her arc in Justice for Tulsa. It also does help that Bev and Marcia do a lot of the same choreography, just on different sides of the stage. So it's kind of easy for my brain to split the two in half and put my mind into either one of those sides when I am in for those roles. And then with Cherry, I just really need to like stand firm in my power because she does have a lot of power over the people over her given the circumstances of 1967 Tulsa, especially in her conversations with Bob and her conversations with Ponyboy, like things like you weren't the one driving that train, or like will you come escort me to the concession stand. Like she puts him in the position where like, he really can't say no to either of those things even despite what he has thought before. And then standing on her power in that breakup scene with Bob, even though it is hard, even though all of her friends disagree with her in that moment, even though she is getting screamed at this close to her face,
Mm.
to be able to stand in that power is something that is difficult, but it's also something that is really, really important for the trajectory of the entire story. And then also going into that dinner scene and thinking, or every Cherry plays the dinner scene different, but any power that I had at the beginning of the show is gone when I see that boy that I interacted with on such a real level just be like nothing behind the eyes, and then looking at his brothers and they are distraught and they are furious and they are mad at her justifiably, and any amount of power that I had before is just gone. And all I could do in that moment, like any pain that she is feeling is not helpful to these boys. It does not matter to them, because their pain is something that she will never ever know. And so, but in her giving Pony Boy Johnny's clothes and the letter, it gives him permission to move on. It really, really does. It gives him permission to accept what has happened and to carry on his life for himself, saying, "Take care of yourself, Pony Boy." Johnny saying to him, "You still have a lot of time to make yourself what you want, Pony Boy." Like, even though she doesn't know the extent of what giving the clothes to him has done for him, um, it gives him the permission to create a life for himself and not fall away, the way that Dallas did when Ponyboy probably could have really used Dallas as a friend after losing Johnny like that. So, I get so emotional even thinking about it. So that's kind of like the universe where all three of them live. It's an honor to do any of them, and the story hurts me in the same way every time, despite where my brain has to go to
Mhm.
tell this story. So that's just a little bit on my mindset with that.
That was so beautifully said. And I mean, I'm just gonna like carry that with me forever. Like that was just, oh, beautiful. And
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so curious if you could walk us through what your debuts looked like in each of your tracks, like kind of from like waking up to stepping on stage, like what was going through your mind? And I mean, especially with yesterday being your first 2 show day as Cherry, like what was that like?
Oh my gosh, that was kind of crazy. I mean, like, um, well, to start with Bev, Bev was a different experience. We were in tech in Buffalo,
Mhm.
and Alyssa, our original Bev, had gotten injured and she couldn't start the tour with us. And Abby, who had joined us very soon after that, still had to take the time to learn the track and to get her wig made and her costumes fitted and stuff like that. And so they had taken Alyssa's dress and they'd fitted it to Hannah. And then the team decided that Hannah would be served better as her role as dance captain to not have to be on stage 24/7 for tech. And so
Yeah.
Danya went to costumes the day we got to the Chase Theater in Buffalo and was just like, "Hey, so we're gonna refit this to Gina." And I literally walk into the dressing room. I have a little bit bag and like expecting to see my yellow shorts. I see blue shorts and I go, "What? What
Oh.
what the heck is going on in here on this day?" I was like, and then a person from costumes came up. They're like, "Hey, do you know what's happening today?" I go, "No." And they were like, "Okay, put these on and meet us downstairs in 3 minutes." I said, "Okay." And so the dress was refitted to me. There was like the first 3 days of tech, I was in my like my show onesie that we wear with our
Yeah.
unders to like get
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
wigs on and stuff. And so I had a wig on, this onesie, and like my butter yellow shoes. And I'm just like, okay, this is crazy. But it was such an honor to tech that show with the cast and to debut in the sweet sweet blue dress. I have dreams about that dress. I really really do. I love my yellow like through and through, but I have dreams about the way that blue dress fit me. Anyhow, it was just so nice to tech the show on stage, and to be a part of the story for a little bit before we put Abby into everything. It was just so great, and then my parents got to see. It was just a beautiful beautiful experience. And yeah, and then I didn't really go on for like a really really long time. And then I did Bev the most, obviously, because that is the easiest track to slip into. And also, like, Katie and Emma are warriors. Warriors. Like, they will not call out. Like, they just won't do it. Like, they are athletes and it's so respectable. But it just created a lot of time for me to sing in the booth. And then my Cherry debut came in Durham, North Carolina. And I get a call from Edmund. He goes, "Hey, are you ready to make your Cherry debut?" It was the Sunday matinee, which means our trunks have already left for the next
Left.
city. And I was like, "The trunks are long gone, aren't they?" And he was like, "Yeah, why?" And I was like, "My steamer and my nebulizer were in there. So anything that you hear on stage from me today is just like what it's gonna be." He's like, "I'm sure it's gonna be great. See you there." And that was fun. And JD was my pony boy,
Yeah.
and it was really really nice. And I had told my whole cast before going on stage that during our circle up that people in college and people in my life used to call me ensemble or bust. And then that day I made my principal debut on the biggest national tour of the year. And so we chanted, "Prove them wrong, yeah!" And then Seb, our another one of our swings and our fight captain,
Yes.
he goes, "You have nothing to prove, but everything to share." And that was exactly what I needed to hear before doing that track. And that was a really, really special day. And then Marcia, my debut was catapulted immediately into a four-show weekend because Katie was off doing her senior showcase. And so I didn't really have enough time to really like relish in the fact of like, oh, it's a debut. And it's just like, all right, I've got 4 shows ahead of me. I gotta prepare the body. I gotta prepare the mind. I need to make sure everything is gonna be right and everything. And that was honestly just a thrill to like after sitting on my little behind so long to just like have a good 4 shows to really get into a swing. It was great. And then yesterday was my first 2 show day. I didn't know it was gonna be my first 2 show day upon waking up, but Emma had been sick this past weekend, and Katie had gone on for Cherry for the past 3 performances. And it was a situation where Emma would be, you know, attempting to warm up and everything like that, and then just be like, it's not going to happen today. And so it was just very by the seat of our pants for the both of us, just being like, okay, let's do another.
Yeah.
Is it gonna happen? Okay, let's do another. And so I didn't even know until we got the in out over text message that I was on for the second show, and I was like, it's a good thing I didn't take off my little blonde eyebrows because let's do it again. So it was just nice to be in a 5 show weekend and once again solidify Marcia really really well, and then get
Mhm.
have 2 more performances as Cherry. I really relished in the fact that it was my first time doing it with Christian. After months of us sitting in the booth together and laughing, and
Yeah.
me being so thrilled for him every time that he goes on for Pony and Johnny and his Broadway debut and everything like that. It was just such an honor to do it with him. And it was so different from any other Pony Cherry combination that we'd experienced so far. So that was really special. And then that evening, Nolan was in the show, and Nolan and I are very, very good friends in real life. So it's always such a pleasure to do it with him. And I'm really getting into the swing with Andrew as our Bob and everything. And it was just an honor. It's just such a great experience to be in the show, and I had a lot of great interactions at the stage door. And we had fans that immediately rushed when I had announced that I was going on, and I was just like, I can't look at you because I'm gonna cry. So
That's gonna be me when you're here. You're gonna be
ah,
texting me like every morning of the 6 weeks that you're in Toronto. I made this promise to Jaden and I am making it to you. I am seeing you in every single one of your tracks in Toronto, and I am counting down the days.
yeah, yeah, totally.
I am so excited.
We're
Uh,
excited to be there. We're really excited.
I'm so excited to have you guys here. Like, I cannot wait. And I mean, I have to talk to you, of course, about being a superhero swing. Like, what has it been like being a swing in The Outsiders? And do you have any like memorable swing stories or like moments from tour so far that you could share, like swing moments?
I It's such a great experience to be a swing. And this is my first time like as a full time swing. And like anytime that there's a debut, our traditions, like we have a tunnel before circle up. And for the circle up, we put the person who's debuting in the center, we put hands on them, and we give them all of our energy. And then at the end of the show, we throw tons of gravel, we get them up on the tire,
Yes.
we get the entire audience to scream. And so with all of the our swings, all eight of us, and all of us having so many tracks to cover, every debut just really brought something special. And they were all so far and few in between because I mean, I talked about Katie and Emma being athletes. I think this whole cast is a cast of athletes for sure. So it was very far and few in between when these debuts would happen, which made them all the more special. And then now getting into the thick of it, we haven't had a full company performance in like a couple of weeks now. So, I mean, it has its own perks, and every time a swing is on, the energy is different. Not even just between like principals, but like even adding people into the ensemble and stuff like that. Every time it'll be a different show, even though it's the same story with the same themes.
Mhm.
Um, it really just changes the energy, and yeah, it's always very very special.
Oh, it's the best. And I mean, of course, like the boot singers, they're such a crucial part of The Outsiders that a lot of people like it doesn't really click for them.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
so what's it like being a boot singer and what goes into bringing those moments to life from behind the scenes? And I mean, you guys sing down.
thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that. So
Oh,
the booth on tour is a little bit of different than the booth on Broadway
yeah,
because the booth on Broadway is in a room.
the boot,
We are
yeah.
most of the time on stage level, on either stage left or stage right. And that's always really fun because anytime that the booth tent is on stage left, we interact with more greasers. And anytime it's on stage right, we interact with more socias. And so we're always like, who is going to visit the booth this time? And like in between songs, we're playing games and stuff like that. But anytime, like of course when any of the booth singers are on, we have one of the swings come in and fill in for the booth tracks.
Yeah.
But anytime it's a full booth, meaning it's me, Seth, Dante, and Christian, sometimes we'll just sing something and we'll be like, that's a full booth, baby. That's a full booth. And we sound really good together, which makes sense because they
Yes.
probably planned for it to be that way. So the booth is very, very special. It's like it's really nice for me for my first time being a swing to kind of have my own version of the show to do every night.
Yeah.
Um, because I'm not really sure what I would be doing if I was left to my own devices with nothing to do but have to be in the building every single night. So, I have my things that I do. I really try to get off my phone. It doesn't really work half of the time, but I always try to give myself a little bit of homework to do or games to play with the other booth members. But I'm very grateful that like I do have my own version of the show to do, and it's always nice when the people that are on stage come off stage and they're like, I heard you sing this one song. You sound great. Like, it's always Justin for Tulsa. They're like, I hear you belting, Gina.
Oh
Thank
yeah.
you, whatever.
Oh yeah.
And, like, if sound is what's needed from us while the people are dancing boots down, I am happy to project
Oh,
everything that I've got. I mean, if there's one thing that I have as a performer, it is a loud singing voice and a loud belt. And I am happy to share it amongst the talents of our cast to help out in any way that I
oh,
can. Yeah. And you know that it's a crazy day in Swingland if my booth track is cut. Meaning that Hannah and I are both on and other girls are out of the building. Yeesh! And that's how you
oh,
know it's going to be crazy. But yeah, I love my booth. It's always so fun in there. Sometimes it can get bleak. It's quite dark, but we put up string lights, so it's fine.
oh.
Yeah, and we
Like,
also have like the permission to like leave and go anywhere in between songs. That's just as long as it's just as long as we're in front of the mic again.
yeah.
For songs, but yeah, booth is life, everyone.
Booth is life. I mean, 11 songs in the booth. Booth is life.
Mhm.
Loudest belt in Tulsa. Thank you very much.
Loudest belt in Tulsa. Clock that. Clock that. That's me,
Oh,
baby.
that's you, babe. So, do you have a favorite scene, song, and moment in the show that you look forward to
God.
performing in
Okay,
each
okay,
of your
okay.
respective roles?
Ooh. Okay. Um. Ooh. When I'm Bev, my favorite scene to do is definitely drive-in. Definitely
Yeah.
drive-in. Like I always say, like people are asking, "What's your favorite track?" I don't have an answer to that because all three are so different. If I want to do the most amount of dancing, I want to do Bev.
Mhm.
With Marcia, certainly my favorite. I mean, it goes between the bleachers scene and Justice for Tulsa because that's when you really see her as a character in terms of being Cherry's friend and whatever. And she is ready to um, back her up when Dallas is bothering her. She is ready to go to
Yeah.
war.
Eat
You
shit,
know,
Marcia. It's my
she's
favorite
ready
line
to
in
go
the
to
show.
war with Bob during the breakup scene. And then in Justice for Tulsa, just a lot of reality hits her all at once and she's not able to handle it. And as much as she wants to stand by her best friend, she just can't. All of her friends have ganged up against the two of them, and it's you either join them or die. Like that is the mindset there. So it is really amazing to have that arc with Marcia. And then Cherry, I mean, I could talk to you all night is just such a privilege to connect with all three of the Pony Boys. Fun fact: my first Pony Boy that I sang "I Could Talk to You All Night" with was Mr. Eli Telly. Clock it,
Eli! Shout out
Eli.
Eli!
Eli was rehearsing with
Oh,
us because
yeah. Yeah.
we were installing the tour at the same time he was getting ready to debut on Broadway. And Nolan and Emma had stepped out of the room, and then Jeff was just like, "Do you two want to sing this while we do this blocking?" And I was like, "Okay." And so it was just me and Eli, and we sound so good together. That was the first and only time we had sang it together. But I was like, I knew very early on then that like any pony boy that I'm gonna be with is it's gonna be a very special connection. And I do have very special connections with all three of our pony boys, Christian, Nolan, and JD. And so every time, no matter who I'm with, it's a different experience, but it's always the same feeling of unity and friendship and hope every time. And I'm so grateful for that. I love the whole show as Cherry, but my favorite scene ever. Like, I can't lie. I'm not in it. I love the Nothing Gold Can Stay poem after
Oh,
throwing in the towel
so
with
good.
Pony and Johnny. I just like love that whole thing. I wish that we could someone should write a one act play of just Pony and Johnny in the church from the moment they get there to the moment that Dallas arrives. I think about that
Oh,
all the time. Like, what are they talking about in
oh
there? How are they
no.
surviving? Where are their heads at? Where are their hearts at? You know, like Johnny just killed someone. Ponyboy is deep in the gutter thinking that all of it is his fault to the point where in the book he convinces himself like I killed him. I'm the one who killed him. I'm the one who killed him. And so I would love to know, I would just love to be more informed about what Pony and Johnny are going through in that church before the fire, before everything like that. From the moment they get off the train to the moment that the church burns down, I would love to know more about what's there. And we see a sweet glimpse of it in Nothing Gold Can Stay, the most informative part of the show. But what else is happening there? I think about it all the time.
No, that is a need, not a want now. Like
That's a
that's a need. Oh,
yeah.
and what has been your highlight moment in The Outsiders so far?
My highlight moment in The Outsiders. I don't know. I feel like I don't stage door often. I've stood on this. I said it on live on my TikTok the other day, and people said like, "Oh, we would still love you, see you in this at the stage door when you're singing in the booth." And like I understand that, and every time I do walk out the stage door and people like yell at me, they're like, "Hi." The people that know me, I will always say hi and like even stop for a picture if that's what people want from me. But
Yeah.
I stand really firm on the fact that like even though I was part of the experience that the patrons saw today, that the audience saw today, I'm not directly affecting your heart with what I do in the booth. I am just aiding the sound of the production. It's a very logistical part of the show. And
Loudest
like
belt in Tulsa.
loudest belt in Tulsa, clock it. But I am not the person that is making you cry and making you smile and making you laugh in that moment. And I want to allow the space for the people that were on stage to interact with the people that are affected enough to come to the stage door and meet everyone.
Mm.
Um, but every time I do go to the stage door after being on, and they're just like, "You're iconic. I love your TikToks." I'm like, "Stop! Like you're
I
so
love your TikToks. Your
I
TikToks are my everything, Gina.
Hey, thanks. Hey, thanks. Hey,
Everything.
thanks. They're gonna keep coming, and it's so funny that people love them so much because like I used to when that TikTok account was first made when I was in high school, I didn't put my name on it and I didn't attach it to my Instagram because I knew my TikToks were so stupid that I didn't want colleges to be like
So good. I
I
live
didn't
for your TikToks.
I didn't want like future colleges that I was applying for to be like, who the hell does this girl think she is? She's in a shark costume, like literally, like what is she like? You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so to hear from people that they love it, even though like in my heart, like there are some TikToks that I put a lot of high effort into, and there are others that it's a shit post account. Like I can't even lie. So
No,
the
it's
fact that people love it so much, and I've become some people's favorite cast member, or just like they want to tell me that I'm iconic or that I'm their hero. I'm like, what are you talking about? It
you
means so much to me, but also like,
no.
what are you talking about?
No,
Because
you are iconic and
thank
you
you.
are my hero. Like your personal TikTok, I live for. And then also like I gotta shout it out to you and Bree for like managing the TikToks for like the company because
Yeah,
Gina, I can't. Those are so good. I live for them.
more on the way. More on the way,
Oh
baby.
my God, I live for them. And I mean, before we tie it off with our last question, we have to talk about the Rumble because I have to shout out Gino, my favorite cast member.
No, my king.
Gino, my king. So like, what is that like for you when you get to do that? And I mean, like, especially as a dancer, because it's so like dancey, but it's
Yeah.
also like, what is that like for you?
So it's several different things. I mean, like now that we've gotten into the thick of it, like when we are just finished Trouble and the Socias and the Greasers are facing off, even though the audience can sense a lot of tension, us as cast members and us as friends feel this amount of existential dread of like, oh, I'm about to get so soaked right now. It's gonna suck. It's gonna get cold and whatever. And like 9 times out of 10, it's uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable and stuff like that. And but some other times that you have to like convince your brain that you are not in danger, because then we have something called red light fever, and that's when people get punched for real, and like that's something that we don't want. So it takes a lot of discipline to do the rumble, especially for everyone that does it consistently.
Yeah.
Which is why I love doing cherry, because like I get to be in the play and then not have to get wet in the rumble.
Famously not in the Rumble.
Famously not in the rumble, and I think that's special in its own. But like it takes a lot of discipline to be in that rumble and to keep everyone safe, but still read to the audience that like these kids are trying to kill each other.
Yeah.
Um, so as a dancer, it feels really easy to navigate that,
Mhm.
especially with several dances that I've had to do, taking a lot of discipline to pace yourself, to not run out of breath, to keep the others around you safe. Growing up competitive dance probably did help me a lot in terms of the discipline that I need to perform the rumble. And then also just like on a different standpoint, getting to dress up as a guy. Hey, I think it's so super fun.
Yeah,
Like
I love Gino.
I look just like my brother Dom. and, and it's really really special. I mean, like when we were in tech and I had to like just sit in my Juno costume for like a really long time, from teching fire through the rumble, it took like
Yeah.
a couple of days and whatever. Gino was flirting with everybody. Was flirting with everybody. I would go up to team directing, like the people, like three people with the most aura ever, like Danya, Miranda, and Autumn. I'd just be like, What's up, ladies? How you doing? And they're like, wait, love this. And I'm like, why is getting into character as Gino like so much easier than getting to character as like Cherry, Marcia, or Bev? And it's because I grew up with brothers, and so it's so
Oh,
easy to just like tap
oh,
into that side of things for me. But yeah, the Rumble, as you know, like now that we're getting into the thick of it, 6 months in, it's just like, we have
oh.
to do it. But like hearing how it affects people and how much they love it really
Oh.
does solidify all of the work for
There's
us.
nothing like it. There
There's
is,
nothing
you
like
will
it.
never experience anything in a theater
Yeah.
like the Rumble.
Yep.
Oh.
Oh
And
my God.
last but not least, looking back on everything you have achieved in this industry, what advice would you give your younger self entering the industry?
That's a great, great question. Um, and that I would tell her, you know, she's learned so much over the years after people just trying to put her down and like doors being slammed in the face and whatever. Um, and the thing that I would tell her, because she figured it all out, she really, really did, and I will continue to figure it out all out after my journey with the outsiders is one day over, and whatever show I'm gonna do next after this or where my career will take me is when my body no longer wants to be a dancer, you know. Like I will figure it out, and she has figured it out. But the one thing that I would tell her is that her love for this art form and her love for dance and her love for performing is going to take her a really, really long way. Longer than a lot of the people that put her down for a long time, you know? And I'm able to. There was a long time where I would look back at those people that tried to bring me down and tried to slam those doors in my face, and I used to look at them with a lot of anger. I don't anymore. I will never understand why they wanted to do that to that sweet, sweet young girl that wanted nothing more. But I am solid in the fact, and I'm sure that she, however old Gina we're talking about right now, I know that she knows in the fact that her love will triumph over it all. And that's something that I need to keep reminding myself in my adult life, not just with my journey and my craft with theater, but in life in general. I have so much love to give, and despite all the doors that continue to get shut in my face, the love will take you a long way and will lead you down a different path than maybe you would have expected. So um, that's kind of the advice that I would give for her specifically, especially as someone who just has so much love in this tiny little body, you know? Um, so she'll figure it out. I don't want to give any like concrete advice, but love can catapult a lot of really, really great things. So I think everyone should remember that.
Yeah, oh, those words just they healed little me. Oh.
Yeah.
Gina, thank you so much for joining
Thank
me
you
on the
so
Inspiration
much.
Show. I mean, like, you have impacted my life and my journey in such a special way. And, like, this episode is truly, like, one of my favorites. I'm in constant
Ah,
awe of your incredible talent. And I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to get to look up to you and watch you shine. And I have so much love and admiration for you. And it was truly such an honor to have you here. I love you
thank
so much. Thank you for inspiring
I
me.
love you too. Thank you. You truly run a great podcast, and I can't wait to see what you do next as well. And
Oh,
thank you for all of your incredible questions and for listening to my journey today,
oh,
because it was a long, crazy one. But I'm glad that people would like to hear about it. I'm glad that you wanted to hear about it today. So thank you.
you're the greatest. Thank you.